The Quo'nos are really the enslaved villagers of Quo'nos, who can only be saved by the power of Khan's Elbesem Orb. They will attack our heroes without regard to their own safety, and are capable of inflicting serious damage to our weaker characters. Skeletons are effective sword-wielding infantry units with high attack power and the ability to inflict critical hits. At this stage in the game, these units should be kept at arm's length and dealt with by our knights. Vampire bats prove to be an annoyance for several battles to come. Unlike their weaker brethren, they forgo a poison attack in favor of Bloodsucker, which leeches health from the target and gives it to the bat. Since this cannot exceed its maximum hit points, the ability doesn't prove particularly useful, since they are rather fragile and can be easily killed before they have the opportunity to use it. Liches are flying spellcasters who possess a potent Tornado 3 spell. Capable of inflicting heavy damage in an area of effect, Tornado 3 is particularly lethal to Eldar, who possesses an inherent vulnerability to wind magic. The Lich is also capable of healing itself or others with Heal 2. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Let's Play Shining Force 3. This is Battle 11 in the Quo'nos Graveyard, and quite frankly, I'm more enthusiastic than I should be about this fight. This is the second gimmick battle we encounter in the game, and it is awful. Whoever designed this should be shot and killed on stage. I'm kidding you not. It is that bad. Right, here's why. You see that little fellow in the hat down the bottom of the screen there? He goes by the name of Khan. He is an Elbesem monk. Unfortunately, he does not join the Force yet. He is an NPC character throughout this entire fight, which means he's controlled by the AI. Now that's a bad thing to begin with. Really, really bad. So here's your gimmick. All those zombies you see, the Quo'nos, you're about to see this, they have to be freed from their zombie thing by Khan's Elbesem Orb, which is right here. And do watch out, if you don't like strobe lights, the Elbesem Orb is going to give you a headache, or worse. He's going to do that in order to save the villagers, because in a few battles' time, when we get to go back to the village, every Quo'nos that we saved is going to be in the village, in one form or another. Also, throughout the fight, we're going to have these things popping out of graves. These are the things we can actually kill. We can kill the vampire bats, and there's a number of other things, which you saw in the bestiary. We can kill those, no problem at all. But if we kill any of the Quo'nos, any of them whatsoever, then it's very likely that we will not receive a secret character. Yes, there is a secret character available in a few fights if we save all of these Quo'nos. There's also a bunch of vendors and all manner of other townsfolk who are represented by these Quo'nos. Every single one of them is somebody who is in the village. And we won't get to speak to them, get anything from them, or more importantly, buy from them if we kill them. Plus, of course, there's this whole moral imperative thing going on, but whatever. Who cares about that, really? So yeah, the Elbesem monk follows around, at least he's supposed to, he follows around our leader Kite. You know, he's kind of like a dog on a leash. He'll try and move his maximum distance towards Kite in any given turn. And if he meets a zombie on the way, he will attempt to free it. Unfortunately, the AI is not perfect, which causes this fight to go on way longer than it should. You see, for instance there, he only moved 4 squares where he could have moved 5. Now, what we're going to have to deal with during this fight is the fact that Irene and indeed our weaker characters are going to be beaten into a pulp by these zombies. They do a lot of damage, particularly to our weaker characters. And it gets very unfortunate and very unpleasant. So this is a very healing-intensive fight. We're going to be using all of Irene's mana. I imagine we're going to be using all of Grace's mana, probably a few medical herbs, as well as the Protect Ring, in order to keep all of our guys alive. There's also another risk. The risk of this particular fight is that we might have a counter hit, and if a counter hit happens, we might end up killing one of the zombies. One can only hope that that's not going to happen. Now, there's a skeleton popping out there. There's going to be 2 more graves that open and pop out monsters. The worst thing about this fight, I think, aside from the healers, is there's not a lot of XP to be gained, because unless you want to slaughter the Quo'nos for XP, which is a really bad idea, you end up just having to run around and take hits, which doesn't give you any benefit. The healers, on the other hand, are going to have a field day, which is fine by me. They could use a couple of levels. The damage dealers are, well, most of the damage dealers are okay right now. Now, I'm trying to keep Irene out of the way as much as possible. Unfortunately, that's not going to work too well. They will keep pursuing her because she's one of the weaker characters. She's only level 6. Her defense is very low, and she's a healer, so it's like feeding time at the zoo for these guys. We'll keep her alive, though, and hopefully gain some extra experience. That was a nice stat gain there, very impressive. In the meantime, we'll try and move all of our fellows forward as fast as we can, and deal with the monsters that we have on the way. We'll probably just range the knights forward just to deal with the skeleton and anything else that we meet up ahead, and more importantly, to take hits. That's something that we do need to be doing, especially with Dantes. Dantes can take those hits, and he doesn't really have to worry about them. In the meantime, Khan can give us a headache with strobe lights. Wonderful. Totally wonderful. Now, you might notice this is a rather edit-intensive fight, as it should be, because this fight goes on for like 30 minutes, so I've edited it down to about 10, and included all of the interesting stuff. Or tried to, at any rate. This fight I've been dreading for so long, for very good reason. It's just so dull. It takes an awful lot of effort to do it properly, which, of course, we're going to do properly. And yet, you just feel the need to say, why bother? Let's just slaughter them all and get it over with. Now, you might ask me, why am I using the spear here? Well, you noticed a couple of battles ago that Dantes gained the supercharge ability. Now, the supercharge is a rank 2 weapon. That's a rank 2 weapon ability. And until he's promoted, he's not going to gain anything else. Yeah? He's not going to gain any more skill points in lances, so I want him to gain some skill points in spears. Indeed, the next fight, by the time you've seen the next fight, I'm going to have actually power leveled a bit, because the next fight is ideal for that. It is absolutely ideal for power leveling. So we're going to be doing that a little bit, just to try and get some of our weaker characters up to speed, and increase the speed at which we can get our characters promoted, because I'm sure you'd quite like to see that. All this extra healing is certainly benefiting them in terms of experience. There's level 7 and heal rank 2, which actually has a range of 2 squares. Very, very useful. Now, what we're about to see in a minute is something that is a rather large risk in this fight. We're very fortunate to only ever have this happen once. And with a character who can barely do any damage whatsoever. Yes, the counter-attack. The counter-attack is pretty random, and it can result in killing a Quo'nos if you're not careful. Thankfully, I've done this fight enough to understand how to avoid killing most of them by using the optimal route around the entire battlefield. Doesn't make the fight any less shorter, although this is going to make things interesting. Welcome to the only dangerous thing in this entire fight. At least assuming your healing's on the ball. That's the Lich. And we're going to see just how dangerous he can be very soon. In the meantime, time to get a little bit of bonus experience. Use those last 2 mana points. No point in leaving mana points lying around. You get them back at the end of the fight anyway. Might as well use them to get some experience. Nothing wrong with that at all. Might as well do it again, really. We've got 10 mana points. That'll take us down at 8, so we can still get a couple of heals in. The only thing I'm really worried about at this point is the Lich. He has a very nasty AoE spell, and that could take some serious healing to get around. And here he goes. The Lich versus Eldar, who sadly decided to range all the way across the pond there. And has an inherent vulnerability to wind magic. What a surprise, being a Birdman. Yes, almost dead there from a single cast. I better get him out of the way right now. And I keep saying him. I keep saying him. Why do I do that? Oh, never mind. There we go. Medical herb for him. I've done it again. I am the worst. Right, from now on, Eldar is now referred to as him. I don't care. And Khan has moved himself... oh dear. Oh dear. Thanks, AI. I hate any battle that has neutral NPCs in it. I say neutral, it's allied, really, but AI-controlled NPCs are the worst thing. Especially in a game which requires relatively precise positioning in order to avoid just that. Gotta get Dantes in there to save the day. No spear. Had enough of that, just gonna stab him with the lance. Now, the reason the Liches are some of the most dangerous enemies for the next few battles is the fact that they're casters, but they have reasonable defense and a lot of HP. I mean, Dantes couldn't even take off half his life there, and Dantes is currently our most powerful character. So that speaks volumes as to how dangerous these things can actually be, as you can't kill them before they cast, generally speaking. Or at least you have to divert a significant amount of resources in order to do so. We're rather fortunate in this fight to only have to deal with one of them. That's not gonna stay that way. For the moment, though, we might as well get Irene some extra XP by punching the Lich in the face. Funnily enough, Irene becomes a relatively good melee combatant later on. I think it's time we finish this and save, seal, whatever you want to call it, the last Quo'nos villager. And that was Battle 11. My name has been TotalBiscuit, this has been Shining Force 3, and I do promise the next one will be a heck of a lot more fun. So I will see you there, inside the Vandal's mansion.